heart with a sweet one bliss. Someone flips me a bad body. So it's another one. It's another one, yeah. It's a full strand, yeah. Oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah.
Hello and welcome to Green Diamond Boxing, powered by iBoxingHub. My name is Aiysha, and before we get started, a quick shout out to our sponsors D-Rock. Please check out their website and add promo code iBoxingHub24 for 40% discount on all their clothing. So today I'm continuing with the Getting to Know the iBoxingHub series, and today I've got one of my other iBoxingHub brothers, Ray. Hi Ray, how are you today?
Good evening, I'm doing all right, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. It's been an all right day. So yeah, how's your day been?
Yeah, it's all right. You know, it's December, it's cold, so just make the best of it and take the blessings and keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So like as I was saying to you just a little while ago before we came on air, that I do like to do a lot of research before I do interviews. And unfortunately, when people aren't on social media, I can't find out any information about them. And you're right, you're one of those people.
I'm a ghost in the wind, ghost in the wind.
So why is it that you're not on any social media? Just like a private person, like to keep things to yourself, or something else?
Funny enough, when I was on socials, I had a private profile, but no, the real reason was I was doing my master's and I was in a crossroad in my career where I'd made 2 career changes prior. And then it was going to be like, okay, this has to work because I don't know where else I'm going to work in. And I previously worked in construction for a few years, which was nice, but wasn't as fulfilling. Then I worked in logistics for a company that shall not be named, but they're horrendous. They're a nationwide company, very horrendous. And I was just like, this can't be my life. And at this point, I hadn't even hit 30. And I was just like, I'm sure I'm not supposed to feel like this about work this early. And so I wanted to switch fields. I ended up doing a master's. And during that time, growing up, I was always someone that I'd say I was capable, but I didn't really do well academically. And this was the first time in life where I was just like, "Do you know what? I'm going through for I'm going for the top grade, and I don't want anything to get in my way." So I literally had to, because I'm one of those people. I'd wake up, grab my phone, let me just go on social for 5 minutes. Then 45 minutes goes by. So I was just like, no, get rid of distractions, deactivate it, uninstall it off my phone. And I just got used to not having it. And then that was it. And then I think after a certain amount of days, if you don't use your account, it's just gone anyway. And then, yeah, it's just gone. And I just didn't feel the need to make a new one or reactivate. And I've just enjoyed being a ghost in the wind.
How has it affected you afterwards? Like, do you feel like it's improved your lifestyle, your mental health, your ability to sleep well, those kind of things? Do you feel like it's improved things for you?
I'd definitely say yes, because like I said, knowing me before, I could spend hours upon end just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And just when I think I'm done, something will pique my interest. And I'm just like, it doesn't stop. And that's how my personality is. And it's like, I want to go into it and delve deeper. And for whatever reason, I always find like on YouTube, it's easier to just be like, maybe my mind will tell me, yo, I know you want to watch this, but this video is 40 minutes. Like, leave it alone. Whereas obviously with things like Instagram, it's short form content. So it's easier to just be on to the next one, the next one, the next one. So yeah, I've just enjoyed having one less distraction for myself. And thankfully, at the moment, my professional life doesn't require me to have social media. I'm gonna be worried if it does, if slash when it does. But
Yeah.
for now, I enjoy the peace of not having it, and everyone thinks it's like, oh, you're well done, you're disciplined. And I'm just like, no, I don't know if I'll call it discipline. It's just more getting rid of it, so I'm not tempted to use it anyway.
Yeah. Maybe
So
it's more discipline if you had it and you limited the time. Maybe
yeah, I
that's more
can't.
discipline, right?
I know myself. I can't do that because even when I first got rid of it, I remember this is how I realized how much I used to be on it. Whenever I'd grab my phone, my thumb like it's like involuntary. I'll slide onto where the Instagram icon used to be, and then I'll be like, "Oh yeah, it's not there."
No
And it's
way.
just like so, and yeah,
Wow.
that's the tell.
It is kinda like a drug, and I think a lot of people are
Yeah,
addicted to their phones. Like, I feel like I am
absolutely.
properly addicted sometimes,
Yeah,
I need to kind of detox, but I find that it really helps me in terms of, like, this boxing stuff that I'm doing. I would not have been in boxing media right now if it wasn't for
yeah,
Instagram and the people that I connected with through Instagram.
yeah.
And it's those kind of connections through that, through Twitter or X, whatever you call it, in other things, other
You're
platforms where
you're using it the
people.
way that it's supposed to be used.
Yeah, but then you don't know which I don't know where to draw the line sometimes as well. So I'll do it for that, and it's really, really
Yeah,
helpful, and then I'll start just, like, scrolling and doing all that other stuff as well, and then it just wastes time, which I
yeah.
don't
So catch
understand, so
22.
it is, it is.
Yeah.
So let's just start off from your background then. Can you just tell
Mhm.
us a bit about yourself, like where you were born, brought up, like some really good memories of your childhood? Yeah, those things to get started.
Okay, so you know, born up, born up. Oh my gosh, brought up in the Great East London, born in the Great Whips Cross Hospital. Shout out Leytonstone, East London, born and raised. E11, that's my town. Always gonna have love for Leytonstone. You know, there's many of us that come from here. Myself, David Beckham, Jonathan Ross. So shout out to many great Leytonstonians. Andrew as well,
Oh, nice.
Andy from iBoxingHub. And yeah, grew up in East London. Random fact about me, I was born with pneumonia, so there's an old hospital in Hackney, and I've forgotten the place. Every single time I used to pass it, my mum would just remind me of like, oh yeah, so when you was born, the doctors worried about your health, and then they found out I had pneumonia. Then they rushed me straight away to like they didn't get to celebrate my birthday. I got rushed straight away to another hospital. I presume I was in intensive care because I was born with pneumonia. And then because of that, the doctors were like, okay, he survived, but growing up, like he may be frail and won't be able to play sports. And to which my mum still like jokingly celebrates because she's just like, I can't get you to stop running. And the doctor thought that you was gonna be some like feeble kid because of what happened. So random fact. But
Oh,
yeah, just another kid, Leytonstone, East London, just running around, just playful. Yeah, that was it. It was just it was born at a crazy time, but I was a kid, so I was just like in my own world and just inner city London youth. Yeah.
big family, like loads of brothers, sisters, or
Two older sisters and both
yeah.
parents. So yeah,
Okay, nice. So
yeah,
like a small unit then. It's not like
yeah,
yeah,
smallish. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and a lot of big Ghanaian community in Leytonstone, which I'm thankful for.
Oh, that's good. That's really
Yeah,
nice. So you can actually like have people of your culture around you as well, growing up with that. And you're not just like
I
in the
couldn't
middle of
escape it. I couldn't
yeah.
escape it even if I wanted to. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Tell us something about Ghanaian culture that you love.
It's just beautiful and we're very chill, sometimes too chill, which I don't like, but you know,
Okay.
that's my people. I love it. Great food, great vibes. It's l- just lovely and just going back to Ghana, I always feel revitalized and
Mm,
from the language to the culture to the food to just how we embrace each other, how we embrace others as well. Like for example, is in Ghanaian, like my tribe is Ashanti, so each day of the week you get a certain name depending on the day of the week.
mm,
And so then things like that for people that's non-Ghanaian, if they come by the house and we've known you long enough, we'll just like basically adopt you and say, all right, what day were you born? All right, cool, that's your name. And then yeah, so that's GH culture. There's many things to it, but off the top of my head, I can't think of anything too specific. But shout out my people.
Nice. All the Ghanaians I've ever met have been lovely people.
We tried.
Obviously there's probably quite a few languages in Ghana, but
Yeah.
I think Tree, is that the
Tree is the biggest. So the Ashanti tribe from the Akan tribe is like the biggest, arguably the biggest tribe in Ghana.
All right,
I'm gonna
okay.
claim it anyway. Whether other people from other tribes are gonna be like,
Is
no,
that
you know,
wrong?
yes, we are. We're a big deal. So yeah, that's obviously the most commonly known one.
Yeah. So
Commonly
you
known
speak, do you
language.
speak that language then? Ashanti?
Kostobi, so it's like so. I understand it.
Yeah.
I don't speak it conversational level yet. I'm working on it. I'll get
And
there.
did you say that language is different to Tree then, is it? Is that
No. What I said, Kostobi, sorry, that means like so. That means like
okay?
when I responded, sorry, I'm saying it like you understand. That basically means I somewhat know.
Somewhat. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Cool.
Somewhat.
Yeah, so I think I learned one word in Tree.
Go on.
Etisen.
To say
And then
yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
And then someone taught me shut your mouth, but I say it wrong, obviously. Because I said it once to someone, they're like, I have no idea what you're saying. Like, you've got it all wrong. I was like, okay, I need to relearn that.
That is hilarious.
Oh gosh, yeah. But I love learning, like, even if it's like little bits here and there, because it's nice to try to learn other people's culture, their language, learn about their food. You know, it's nice because that's how you get to know people as well, and that's how you appreciate other people as well.
I always say learn pleasantries from different cultures. It takes you far.
Yeah, it really does. Even like little words here and there, people like feel like, oh, you're one of us now. Like we know you because you're trying at least with our language and our culture and our, you know, rather than just, oh, I'm just going to go to another country and just speak English and not even try. You know, just even doing that effort. Even that effort helps. I mean, when we go to other countries, we never speak English because generally, in most parts of the world, people don't like English.
Yeah, I get, but no, because the funny thing is, you say that even when I've gone to other European countries, and like I said, I try to learn pleasantries in different countries, whether it's like hello, hi, thank you, you're welcome. They appreciate that, even if you just know that. I remember when I went to Germany last year, my Deutsch is nicht so gut, but my old school German teacher would be so proud of me because I was terrible in the class. But the minimal that I did know, they were just like, oh, that's like, it's nice to hear, like, and you've got, you know, decent pronunciation and everything, so they're happy with it. So wunderbar.
It's really good. I like it. I did Spanish A level, which I really loved. Did a bit of French and stuff. Yeah, so I really love doing different languages. I think it's really cool.
Nice.
So I want to get into obviously boxing and where that all started for you. You have a love of boxing. Where did it all begin with? Is it someone in your family who kind of instilled that love for you, or is it something that came up for you by yourself?
A bit of both. Ironically, boxing started for me from birth without me knowing. So, funnily enough, my mum cannot stand watching boxing now. Now it's too violent. The irony comes with this. I'm actually named after Sugar Ray Leonard.
Wow.
So what she told me is Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvelous Marvin Hagler were having their fight, and she was basically like, whoever wins this is potentially going to be your
Are
name.
you serious?
I potentially could have been called Marvin.
Oh my!
Shout out my uncle Marvin. So, but she was really a fan, obviously understandable. Sugar Ray Leonard back then was a very big deal, how he carried himself. And obviously he ended up winning that fight, albeit controversially, but he ends up winning that fight.
Yeah.
So growing up, if anybody from like the GH community from Leytonstone, they'll tell you this. All the adults that used to call me Sugar. So it'll be like, Sugar, bruh. So I'm like, it's like, Sugar, come here.
Yeah.
And then I got to a certain point, I was just like, you know, little kids, little things irritate you. So I'm coming to my mum like, why do they keep calling me Sugar? Like, My name's Raymond. Like, where's sugar coming from? I
Mm.
like at this age, I didn't even like being called Ray, let alone sugar.
So you wanted Raymond, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's only because of working life now I get called Ray, but back then
Mm.
it was like strictly Raymond, and then adults will all call me Sugar, and then it gets annoying because then other younger lot start calling me Sugar as well, and I don't understand where this is coming from. So I asked
Mhm.
my mum like, why do they call me Sugar? And then that's when she tells me
Right.
he was named after a boxer called Sugar Ray, and then she tells the whole story. So I said, oh, okay. So since then, and till this day, there's many adults from they're like elders from that community that still see me and they'll call me Sugar. So
But
that's
she actually
how.
named you
Sorry?
Raymond though, like, she hasn't did she actually name you Sugar Ray or
No, 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 not the sugar part. Obviously, is not. No,
didn't
the
do
Raymond. The Raymond is my
Raymond?
actual name, and that's but also like I said, that comes from like Sugar Ray Leonard. But because his nickname was Sugar, so it's almost
Yeah,
like I've adopted that nickname as well.
yeah.
So it's like I was called Sugar, but like boxing wasn't, even though that was the case, boxing wasn't really put onto me like that. Where obviously growing up, you always heard big fights happening. So when it was like Lennox Lewis versus Tyson, and then
Mhm.
you would have the adults in the community being like, "Yo, what shop are we gonna all assemble at 3 in the morning?" And
Wow.
I'm like still young at this point. I think when Lennox Lewis Tyson happened, I'm probably still about 10. We're at 10, so I'm hearing the adults talking about it. So I'm just like, who? It's like I know the names, they're household names at this point,
Mhm.
but I don't really understand why it's so significant.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then I remember like then everyone would like there might be a gathering at a house and then all the uncles are just talking about, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm still tired from going to the shop Garden City and watching Lennox Lewis first Tyson at wherever in the morning. But then I wasn't really the biggest boxing fan. I was more into martial arts. I done karate when I was younger. I done karate and judo. Those are my main things.
Mhm.
Big Bruce Lee fan when I
Yeah.
was like from early. So my first sports that I started succeeding, I was terrible at football.
Mhm.
Everyone loved football around me. Obviously, grew up in East London, that was a big thing. I was terrible at football, but like karate and judo is where I found more my sporting success. So what would happen is I was training karate for a while, then I had a bereavement in my family, which at the time, like just obviously bereavements are hard, especially at a young age. So I then it was like the timing was I was going into secondary school at the time and everyone was doing football. In
Mhm.
addition to the bereavement, that's kind of like the motivate might be the word. For lack of a better term, I was demotivated like training karate. So yeah, going to football a lot. Like I said, I was terrible, but God loves a trier. And then the older I got, I was just like something intrinsically was telling me I know I'm athletic,
Yeah.
but football just wasn't where my athleticism was showing. If you
Mhm.
knew me back then, absolutely scrawny kid, very scrawny, and pushover, etc., etc. And then it got to about 15, 16. I had the latest growth spurt in year 11. Very late growth spurt. To this day, like one of my boys, shout out Denzel, will jokingly always tell people, listen, if one thing Raymond's going to do, he's going to remind you that he used to be small and then he grew up on everyone. Because I was like scrawny, then out of nowhere, late year 11, bam, I go through this growth spurt. Then I start hitting the gym a lot. And then like I said, growing up, I remember like even when I was playing football, it's like internally, intrinsically, I felt like I can pull off a certain move or
Mhm.
pull off a certain movement. And then in my mind, I can do it. In reality, nah. So, but I just kept telling myself, why do I feel like I can be athletic and it's not like happening in real life?
Yeah.
Well, one, football just wasn't a sport for me. And by the sounds of it, I spoke to one of my uncles like years later. And then he jokingly was just like, yeah, your dad was terrible at football as well. So it makes sense.
Okay.
And it made me laugh because I've got people in my family that played football to a high level. Like I've even got cousins that played professional.
Oh, wow.
They were like more like 1 or 3 seasons in the Premier, but championship level. But I digress. So I got to about 15, 16, started hitting the gym, started putting on a bit of size. And then I said to myself, I need to find a different sport because this ain't it. I'm just like, I know I'm athletic, but football's not what's going to bring out the athleticism in me that I want to show. So then how it started was one of my friends, same one I mentioned before, my boy Denzel, shout out Denzel. He starts sending me like clips on MSN of like there used to be an MMA organization in Japan called Pride. If you know me, I hate like random violence. I detest it. Not a fan. So then he starts sending me clips of like Pride, and I was just like, "Yo, allow me. I'm not watching this. I hate this stuff." Side note: I've got another group of friends that used to watch UFC back in the day, but they didn't really care about the fighters. They just like the violence of it. Once again,
Okay.
so I detested it. So I was like, I don't like it. I hate it. But my boy kept saying, "No, just watch this clip. Just watch the clip." I watched the clip, and then there's one of my favorite fighters of all time, MMA fighters called Minotauro Nogueira, and his things were submissions. And I remember there was a clip where he was like, he was a heavyweight, but he's one of those small heavyweights, and then he would just be submitting so many people, and my life changed. I said, I have to learn that. I remember just thinking, I need to learn that. So that was like, it reopened the chapter of me going back into combat sports from, it's like I found the motivation again from being the little kid that was dealing with the bereavement and not wanting to do karate and judo no more. And I found that spark again to, it's like, yeah, I found martial arts again. And it's kind of just like, wow, this is really what I want to get into. And then at the same time that was happening, so this is, I'm sure my age, but this is like 07, 08. I'm in sixth form. So now I'm just like, cool, I want to learn MMA basically. And at the same time, if it was it, is it 08? Was this 08 or 07? I know it's around those years, that first year sixth form. Hatton first Mayweather. That sparks my journey of really getting to boxing. So I remember at the time, it's like I've put on size and everything, and then at this point I didn't start training in boxing just yet. But I remember because I was just like, because I come from, like I said, I've done karate before, so I'm like, I need to use my legs. But then it was like I just sparked that interest in boxing. So Mayweather first Hatton happens, then the old school HBO 24/7, and there's it's doing the diary of the fighters leading up to the fight. And I remember at the time, it's like I was conflicted because you had the UK pride of Ricky Hatton come
Yeah.
on, the everyday man's man and the workhorse, and then you got Mayweather, this brash, cocky American. But you were like watch him, and it's like the skills are undeniable, and you're conflicted because it's like this is the testable behavior, but my goodness, he's got good skill. And then yeah, from then I just went through just a rabbit hole. And when Mayweather done that, I started looking at other fighters around that weight class. And it's funny because most people would have, I guess, got attracted to more Pacquiao as well at the time.
Yeah.
My guy, there's two people around that time that I just resonated with. Bernard Hopkins and Miguel Angel Cotto. And there's two different reasons. Hopkins, I just liked his rugged determination. Like when you start going into his story of how boxing transformed his life, I loved it. And then seeing where he was in his career at the time, like they writ him off, they were saying he was old. And then I think he had just lost to Jermaine Taylor. Or did he win against Jermaine Taylor? Basically, it was that light heavyweight. And then, middleweight. And then he had just come off, I remember he lost to Joe Calzaghe. Then he got a few more wins. Then he lost again. And then he was coming up against Kelly Pavlik. And they were just like, all right, Kelly Pavlik was meant to be the guy. And then Bernard Hopkins, him and his trainer, RIP, the great Nazim Richardson, they just put on a clinic. And I remember then I was just like, I need to get involved in boxing.
Oh.
Just like watching it. Like Bernard Hopkins had me enthralled, and Miguel Cotto was more of a. I just liked his thing of whoever the best fighter is,
Mhm.
let me have him. Like he was a proper. I think at the time when there's a lot of fighters that are doing the whole like trying to pad their records, even at championship level, Miguel Cotto was that bad man that was just like, who is the best? I will fight the best. Point blank,
Yes.
period. Zab Julia, Paulie Malignaggi, even Margarita, even though, you know, we found out he done the whole day plaster Paris stuff.
Yeah.
But Miguel Cotto was just win, lose or draw. That is my guy to the end. And then yeah, that just began my journey into boxing. Like boxing and MMA just ran concurrently for me. So I would start then training in like Muay Thai, but then I gained more interest in just watching boxing and the road it took me down with so many amazing stories.
Wow.
Sorry, that was so long-winded from me.
No, that's really like listen to how you actually got there. But did you actually
Yeah.
start boxing yourself as well, like boxing training?
I started boxing training so late. So I done Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Started that from like 2008, 2009. So second year, sixth form, I got into that. And then I done that for a long time as well as MMA. And then what happened was maybe like, let's say nearly up to a decade until about 2019, I was just doing that. And then I hit a roadblock in like my career. So going back to what I was saying before about changing careers. So then when I started doing my masters, one of my boys, shout out Ozzy, he told me about this was like, yeah, whilst I was doing my masters, he was like, yo, there's this guy Malachi that when he went to school with, he started boxing training like just down the road in East London. So I was just like, all right, cool, let me try check it out. Shout out Malachi Boxing. So yeah, it was like I went there and that's when I first started doing actual boxing training, solely boxing. Because like I said, I've done Muay Thai before. You've got boxing techniques, but obviously it's not the same. So Malachi just helped me take my boxing to a new level, to a point where, funny enough, when I went back into Muay Thai a couple years back, my boxing technique was so good, and that's when it would catch a lot of people Muay Thai off because they're
Yeah.
just like, what the hell, like I'm punching from certain angles that's not usual to Muay Thai, so it helped me. And so yeah, it was like 2019, I got into it, and to the point where I was going to potentially compete amateur. Just a few, like I was older at this point, so I'm not like looking to do any big competitions, but just a few just to tick it off. And then the pandemic hit, so so yeah, but the funny thing is, boxing training actually helped me like just tick over. During that time, I used to go to the park and train with, allegedly I was going to the park and training with Malachi just to help, just like get me outside, mental health, like
Yeah.
get people working. So yeah, it was shout out
Oh,
boxing.
do you feel sad that you didn't get to do that amateur bout that you wanted?
Yes and no. It was like, I think if I built up more steam, I'd be more upset. So at the time, funny enough, like I said, mentioned before, my boy Ozzy, he was actually getting ready for a white collar competition, and then the pandemic hit, so he couldn't compete. So if I was in that type of place, then I'd be more upset because, like I
Yeah,
said,
of
he was.
course.
Whereas for myself, it was deciding whether I wanted to do that. And because I didn't in the end, it was just like, it just wasn't meant to be. I competed in other stuff before. So I've already scratched the itch of like competing in other martial arts before. So it wasn't too bad.
And you mentioned about how your boxing skills helped you in like Muay Thai when you went
Yeah.
back to that. Do you think that the vice versa would also work out in the sense that if you did another martial art, not specifically Muay Thai, but maybe
Mhm.
something else, jiu-jitsu or whatever other things, that it might help people in their boxing careers, do you think?
I think more on the conditioning side and more on, I feel like the different like martial arts gives you different mindset of things. So
Mm,
it pushes you in different ways, where that's why I like training, because people just think I'm just in it for the physical and It's like, no, it's just that mentally you push your body to work in a way that you like. There's times when you're tired, like I've been through boxing workouts, you're just doing pad work and technique throughout, and then you have to do conditioning at the end, and you're just there like, I'm done, my body's spent, and the coach just shouting at you like, yo, you have to get it done regardless. And you're pushing yourself in a way that when you're done, you're tired. First, you're getting your breath back because you're just like, oh, I'm knackered. And then you get up and you're just like, I'm still here, still alive. Then you get the endorphins because it's just like, you feel good about completing that task and putting in that work. So I feel like when you do different martial arts, you're going to work different parts of your body that it requires more depending on, what task. So I think that's what's good is like, what do they call it? Cross training, I believe the term is. So
Right.
that's what's good to like keep things fresh, but then also know that you can push your body in different ways physically to get you to the goals that you need to get to, whether it's mental, physical, or spiritual.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking about obviously Tyson Fury and Usyk's fight, and
Yeah.
people were saying, obviously that Tyson Fury would normally put his weight on his opponent to try to
Yeah.
tire them out, and he wasn't really able to do that with Usyk because he kind of got himself out of that
Yeah.
position because he's got some background of wrestling or jiu-jitsu or something like that. Do you think that would be helpful in that kind of scenario?
Absolutely. Wrestling, especially wrestling, out of all the different martial arts I've done, wrestling training is the most grueling.
Mm-hmm.
That demands so much out of your body. It is it's scary to the point where I haven't trained solely wrestling in a long time. And I look back at certain workouts and I think to myself, I don't even know how I was physically able to make it to complete the workouts. It is grueling. It pushes your body in a way that it's just insane. Like even I know this is a boxing channel, but if you watch MMA, you see a lot of wrestlers are dominant, especially at the moment. Those from the Dagestani region. So you have the Habib Nurmagomedovs and the Islam Makachevs,
Yeah.
and you just see like how they're built and the conditioning that they have, and that's from wrestling. And definitely, I'd understand for Usyk when because wrestling is a lot of body positioning and leverage and pummeling in, and if you're doing pure boxing and you're not used to that, yeah, it's like you're used in wrestling, you're used to shifting weight in a certain way to make it advantageous for you. And I'm sure for Usyk it helped a big amount because where normal boxers may not be used to having to leverage the weight in such a way. Because
Yeah.
normally, you just do the usual like lean on them and you clinch, but obviously wrestling is like a high level of that clinch game.
Yeah,
And I'm
exactly. Yeah.
sure Usyk's just like, you're not doing nothing that I haven't seen.
Mhm.
I've done such an extensive, you know, exercise on dealing with someone's weight that you
Yeah.
doing this easy work. And then we saw how that translated so well during their fight.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I guess for me, it's like wrestling. Like I sometimes see it and I'm like, oh, that kind of personal space invasion thing, you know? Like,
Yeah, it's very out of all the martial arts is like is basically I'm someone with long limbs, so long levers. So I've always been taught whenever I did different martial arts,
distance. Yeah.
yeah, distance, use the jab, or if
Yeah.
I'm in Muay Thai, use the teep to keep the
Exactly.
distance,
Yeah.
be outside on the range. And wrestling is just like there is no long range. Like you gotta go in there, grab them, take down, and
Yeah.
such, control them. So it's very different. That's like I said, that's also where the grueling part comes in because you don't get that chance as much as like boxing. You could be inside 1-2 combo, miss, come out, and then you can circle. You can get a
Mm.
breather at times, but wrestling is like just
Yeah.
full throw.
Is that a bit uncomfortable? Like, as someone who's done wrestling before,
Yeah.
do you have to get to know the person a bit so they're like on friendly
No.
terms?
You get used to it. As obviously you gotta make sure that I think one of the most important things when people get scared and worried about how things look, I understand, but if you go to training places that's got the right culture, you want to go somewhere where the intensity is high, but they're not pricks. I
Yeah.
always, pardon my language, am I allowed to swear?
I mean,
I'll keep
obviously
it
on
to a minimum.
iBoxing Hub you can, but like Green Diamond Boxing, we try to keep
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. That's what I wanted to ask. But it's like I remember one of the coaches I've trained with, he would always be like, listen, go in there, go like look to break someone, but do not be a prick about it, basically. That's his
Mm-hmm.
main thing. It's like there's a thin line between push them to their limit and
Right.
then you just being horrible. And
Okay.
then there's one thing he didn't tolerate is bullies. Because if it was like if someone's pushing people to a breaking point, but they're doing it to everyone, then it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, you know what? Fair enough. Because if you're gonna do it to the weakest person in the class, get prepared to do it to the strongest person in the class. And then obviously he would just detest people where it's like you can always do that to the more novice levels, but then when it comes to the higher level guys, you start shrinking. And it's just like that's where you need to be. You need to be in places like that where you get different levels. So you gotta go against people higher than you to know that it's like to humble you, but then to also know this is what you need to work towards. And just to get experience, just get manhandled sometimes. Then you
Yeah.
need to go against people that are lower level than you so you can be able to practice what you're learning, but
Mm-hmm.
also learn not to be horrible about it, to be conceited about it. And then
Yeah.
you need to go against people your level so that just to test yourself, know when to push, know when to pull, know, to regulate where you are. But the most
Mm.
important thing is keeping the ego in check because you need your ego to push yourself and make sure that you put 100% in it. But you also need to check your ego so you're not being a horrible training partner because
Yeah.
one of the most important things about training is having good training partners that's not going to injure you because I don't know, you might have got better positioning than them. And instead
Mhm.
of accepting it and working their way back in a more ethical way, they just try to get their get back, and then now you're injured because. And I've come across my fair shares of those people, but I'm also fortunate that I've trained at places where they'll push you to the limit, but they're not jackasses about it, which is very important
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really, really important to find the right training place
for
with the right
sure.
people and the right teachers and trainers. It's so important.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, so I've generally try to ask people this question when it comes to boxing about who is their greatest of all time. A lot of
Mhm,
people do say Muhammad Ali.
mhm.
You know, people have different other people that they might pick as well. But who's your greatest of all time in terms of boxing?
My actual personal one,
Yes.
okay, if we're talking about my personal,
Think is the greatest of all time when it comes to boxing?
I don't have one person that's greatest of all time.
Okay. Okay. So would you have like a top two, top
I've got
three?
greats in my mind. In terms of actual personal greats,
Mm-hmm.
number one undisputed, Lennox Lewis.
Okay.
Lennox Lewis for me was just incredible in the fact that how determined he was, how much of a great student of the game he was. I remember
Mm-hmm.
watching his documentary, and when he had both of his surprise losses, he would just talk about how like he just went back to a drawing board, and he was just like, "I'm going to learn how to beat this person." Like the mindset of
Mm-hmm.
getting knocked out in front of millions of people, especially against underdogs that you're not supposed to lose to.
Yeah.
And then he just had a mindset of, I'm gonna get that win back. And
Yeah.
then he'll just work with his team, was just methodical and just how he carried himself, what he represented. Like I can't say enough good things about Lennox Lewis. And he always say he didn't get as much credit. He still doesn't get as much credit as he deserves. And for me, he's Britain's best boxer. Whether you want to say he's not British because of
Yeah.
whatever. If he is British, if you consider him British, he's the best British boxer, hands down. So Lennox Lewis is my personal greatest best.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'd say honorably speaking, Muhammad Ali for obvious reasons, but I'm also my thing is I didn't watch him like that growing up, and he wasn't my generation, so I don't like doing the whole. If I'm talking about personal, I don't say him per se because I just didn't grow up on him, and because I'll go into boxing later as well. So obviously, I know the historical figure that he is, and I always prop him up
Yeah.
for that. But boxing wise, nah. And then so obviously you got Lennox Lewis, Sugar Ray Leonard as well, with the namesake. Obviously, I had to go back and do research onto how great he was, and then also obviously the Four Kings, him, Duran, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hitman Hearn, and seeing just how great they were. So those two, Bernard Hopkins, Miguel Angel Cotto is another one. I'm gonna kick myself because I know there's gonna be a few people I've forgotten, and I'm gonna be like, no, this person. But off the top of my head, those are the ones.
Yeah, you've mentioned
Yeah.
quite a few of the greats that
Yeah.
in your opinion. So that's really really nice to hear. Like all the
Yeah.
people that you really admire in terms of boxing. There is some talk about people saying that Usyk is an all-time great, one of the greatest of
Absolutely.
all time, right?
Mhm.
There was also something I watched, I think today, with someone saying, "Oh no, he's not one of the greatest of all time." What's your opinion on Usyk as a GOAT? If someone said Usyk is my GOAT, what would you respond to that? Would you say, "Yeah, cool, that sounds about right"?
Definitely. Do you know what? The people that are saying he's not, a majority of the time, I'm not gonna say all of them, but a majority of them, or a lot of their public figures, shall we say, a lot of the time is the American public figures that are they're salty. And I know you're probably doing the classy route of not mentioning no names. Timothy Bradley, we know
I
you're
was
one of the
trying to.
I know, and I like Timothy Bradley. Listen, I not only won money with Timothy Bradley, I called that he would beat Pacquiao when they first fought each other. Albeit controversial, but I backed Timothy Bradley. And with Americans, well, some Americans, they do this thing where if they're not involved, it means that it's a sham. But
Right.
I'm sorry, you do not do what Usyk done. You become undisputed at cruiserweight in the World Boxing Super Series, which at the time was revolutionary because it was a case of you don't get to pick and choose your opponents.
Yeah.
You don't. Usyk doesn't belong to some big promoter that's able to get him favorable fights. It's like no, he had to be on the road, fight all of these guys,
Yeah.
and shout out to his name escapes me. Oh my gosh, the cruiserweight bruiser. He was a champion and he faced Jay Patai in his last fight. This is actually his name will come to me soon, but he was great because he was the one that arguably pushed Usyk to his the most. And for me, Usyk just went through the best of the best. And the fact that it was that heavyweight generation was meant to be a two-horse race between AJ and Tyson Fury. And with
Yeah.
Usyk coming on top, how can you? Because guess what? If Tommy Fury, if Tyson Fury won that fight, everyone will be saying, but will be lauding the plaudits about how great Tyson Fury is. They
Yeah.
were giving Tyson plaudits off of just being Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
But then now that Usyk's beat both of them, bearing in mind Usyk's also older than all of them, and similar to Lennox Lewis, what Usyk done was he beat his generation and he beat the future generation in Daniel Dubois, the same way Lennox Lewis beat the prior generation, his generation, and then he beat Klitschko on his way out. So for me, it's like, how can you not call Usyk all-time great? Even if Usyk loses now, I would like him to retire. If Usyk lost now, it doesn't matter because what he's done is cemented, two-time undisputed. He's actually lapped the division twice, and AJ is my guy. Me and you share that. AJ is our guy, and the fact that he managed to beat AJ twice, the fact that he managed to beat Fury twice, and Dubois in that as well.
Yeah.
Like he's a great. Like, I don't care if because some people don't like that he's not flashy, or greatness is greatness, point
Yeah.
blank, period.
Yeah.
It doesn't
100%.
take for you to like someone's personal story. It doesn't take for you to think that, oh, this person needs a bit more glitz and glamour, or you shouldn't need PR to tell you that someone is great. And Usyk is an all-time great minimum. Whether you want
Mm.
to call him your GOAT, that's up to you. But
Yeah.
minimum, you
Yeah.
cannot be two-time undisputed, gone through the road, especially the road that Usyk went through, and then tell me that that guy is not an all-time great. Yes, he is, and I will not take anything other. And the people that's like want to do the whole unconscious bias, grow
Mm.
up. Like, just grow up. It's enough. Because some of these the Americans, it's like the same thing they do in a way where
Mhm.
Myris Bradis, that's the one. He's the one that I'd say gave Usyk his toughest title fight, and he was a
Mhm.
great
Oh,
cruiserweight
yeah.
champion
Yeah.
himself. But a lot of Americans do this thing where if they're not involved or they don't know the guy enough, instead of actually doing the research and seeing how great someone is, they'll do this thing where they're just like, he's not that great, or it's like they're doing in a way now. Who's he beaten? If you actually look at his opponents, he's beaten great people, and he's a two-time undisputed champion. And they're just like, well, if you're so great, tell him to go up to 135 and first tank. So let me get this straight. The guy should jump 3 weight divisions to make you happy. It's like, you're just being biased because he's not American. The same way they get upset when they're like, oh my gosh, if someone's so great, why haven't they fought in America? World champion, not US champion,
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
champion. Please, the world. But
Yeah.
yeah, Usyk's are great, and I'm not having anything other than that.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with you that nobody can deny what he's done and what he's achieved.
Undeniable,
So,
for sure.
yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to ask you about, obviously you mentioned, was it Miguel Cotto who you really
Yes.
admire? And one of the reasons that you really admire him is that he didn't, talk about ducking anyone or maybe like picking and choosing who he was going to fight. He just wanted to fight the best of the best. Do
Yes.
you think that that's still generally true for fighters now, that they kind of go out and say, I want to fight the best of the best? Or do you think there's more of a picking and choosing nowadays?
It's a combination. I think there are a lot of fighters who do want to be like that, but because
Mhm.
of, unfortunately, as well, with the culture in social media, the culture in social media at the moment has made it so horrible for fighters, where people just put fighters down after one loss, where I feel like in back of the day, it's like you get a loss. Yeah, there's going to be some parts of the media that slander you. There's going to be haters in all fields. But in general, the public might just be like, hey, listen, man, you took a loss, come back stronger, and, get back onto it. And that's how we got the four kings in Durant, Leonard, Hearn, and Hagler. Like, they all took L's, they all got their wins. None of them you can't tell no one that they're not great.
Yeah.
So I think the culture of how we handle boxers facing losses needs to change,
Yeah.
because then fighters, I think there's a lot of fighters that do want to face the best, but because of that
Mm.
culture, and knowing that I can lose a lot of money if people see one loss, which is stupid,
Yeah, it
that's
is.
when that's why we have the changing culture. And people call it the Mayweather effect, where he made it so important to have that O on his
Oh, yeah.
record, which I listen, and I respect it, he got his money, but at the same time, that applied to him.
Mm.
And furthermore, I always used to say, Pretty Boy Mayweather done all the work so that Money Mayweather
Mhm.
could do what he was doing. But Pretty Boy was being all the best, which people don't always acknowledge. And then
Mhm.
Money Mayweather was just like the twilight of his career, where he was having star-studded fights against other people that are past it. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I do feel like there's a lot of people that are worried to lose,
Mhm.
not because they don't think they're the best, but because of the financial implications it can have on their career, unfortunately. And then there is the other side where promoters know that someone is marketable for one reason or another,
Mhm.
and the promoter deep down knows that their fighter is not as good if they face better competition. So they'll just keep on milking that cow until they're forced to face better competition. So it's a combination of both.
Yeah. So obviously we're nearly at the end of the year. 2024, we've had loads of amazing fights. Can you pick out one highlight in terms of boxing that sticks out for you for 2024?
This is so terrible because the first one that comes to mind is Usyk Fury 1,
Mm-hmm.
only because that was the first crowning point of Undisputed, where Usyk just let people know, in this 2-horse race that you lot had for years, I am the winner.
Yeah.
So I think that was great. Obviously, you had this might even be the pinnacle of like this boxing excellence this year.
Mhm.
Bestabiev against Bivol,
Yeah.
which that was just high level boxing.
Mhm.
That just I wanted Bestabiev to win, and I'm happy he did.
Yeah.
But even if he lost, I'd be happy either way with the result, because I just felt like this is high level boxing. It could go either way, and it was just such a treat to see that. So I think those two definitely was a big highlight for me. Whenever Inoue fights, I just enjoy watching greatness. So shout out Inoue. Brad Crawford the same, even though he only had one fight, 154. It was intriguing to see
Mhm.
after the great moment he had against Errol Spence, which hurt me because I was a big fan of Errol Spence. I am still a big supporter of Errol Spence, but
Mhm.
I've got to give credit where it's due to Bud Crawford.
Absolutely.
And there are probably other highlights that don't come to mind. I've liked seeing the rise of Junaid Boston.
Mhm.
I hope I've pronounced his name correct. So I like to I hope that he does great things. And obviously Joshua Boachi, aka Boatsi,
Mhm.
I need 2025 to be the year he steps up and goes for a title.
Yeah.
It needs to happen. I know obviously we've got a second undisputed bout between Bivol and Beterbiev.
Yeah.
I just hope whoever wins that, the belt scatter and Boachi gets his chance to go for that belt, because it's long overdue and it's now or never. So yeah, those are my highlights.
Totally agree.
Once
Yeah.
again, I'll be kicking myself when I remember certain things, but here we are.
And finally, last question. 2025.
Mhm.
One fight that you definitely want to see made in 2025.
Hmm. Hmm. There's a few. I want to see Boots get unification at welterweight, because I know a lot of those other titleists in that weight class, they're running from him. You know,
Mhm.
before when you were talking about ducking,
Yeah.
those people are ducking from Boots. I would like to see Crawford get more titles at 154. And I would also like to see Javante Tank Davis, whether it's against Shakur or I know Keyshawn Davis is making his way up. Whether it's against Shakur or Keyshawn Davis, I'd like to see a unification fight of Tank Davis with one of the other lightweight title fights. And then obviously there's the AJ first Fury,
Mhm.
which is the Battle of Britain.
Yeah.
I need my guy AJ. I know we might be near the end of the road, but come on,
Mhm.
man. Dust yourself off. We go again, man. It's Team
Yeah.
AJ to the walls fall off. So whether a
100%.
W or a L, take it on the chin, get back up, learn from the mistakes,
Mm.
get back to it. And he's still my guy. So let's do this.
Yeah. And that is a lovely note to end on. We'll end
Indeed.
on Team AJ because we both are Team AJ.
Indeed.
Ray, thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing catching up with you. Loads and loads of questions I still had in the back of my mind to ask you, but we're already approaching the 1 hour.
Yeah, apologies. I rambled on a bit.
No,
So
it's just because I had loads of things to speak to you about, and there's still things that I haven't asked you, but we'll
we'll
leave
do
that
a part two. We'll do a part two soon.
and obviously you're not on social media, so people can't follow you, but they can see your shows. Just let people
Stayweighin.
know where they can find your shows.
So iBoxingHub, Stayweighin, normally on Tuesdays. So tune in for that. I'm really appreciative for the time on Green Diamond Boxing. So definitely keep following Aiysha for the great boxing content that she's always bringing through. And yeah, I guess there's the Stayweighin social media. So that's the closest thing I'll get to having a social. So you can follow that. Obviously, my podcast co-host Abbas, shout out Abbas as well. So we do Stayweighin. So tune into that, tune into this, subscribe, like, comment, show some love to Aiysha. Big her up for a lot of her work that I see come up in the group chat and such. I'm not on socials, but obviously the group chat keeps me updated. It keeps me abreast of a lot of the work that you do. So keep up the good work. Keep going. I see there's a lot of reputable people in boxing that have good things to say about you and have good rapport with you. So keep up the good work. And yeah, thank you once again for having me.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching, and we will catch you next time.
It's another band. All the Muslim cars now, whichever get up. Light up my scarf with a sweet one, please. Someone flicks me a bag, so it's another one. It's another one, yeah. It's a full strand, yeah. Oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah.